right. Welcome to the Copper Top, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad you could join us today. This is about the first meeting of the end of school. And we've been at this for 3 years now, and what happens is just about the time school is ready to end, everybody starts going away on vacations, or having people come into town, or they have to work the fields, or they have to work their garden or their yard, and etc. So attendance at these meetings tends to drop off. So we definitely appreciate those that took time out of their schedule to be with us today, especially the newcomers. Let's bow our head in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the time that we've taken today to come here. We look forward to serving our nation as stewards. This wonderful nation that was born with a recognition of you as our Creator and the source not only of our lives, but also of our freedom. Grant us the strength that we need, the perseverance that we'll need to see us through, and the wisdom to guide our steps as we perform our stewardship and reach out and work together with our friends and neighbors in this undertaking. Amen. All right, Lisa, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, one of the things we usually do is recognize any elected officials that have joined with us. And I noticed Nancy Abbott was here this morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Medina Municipal Court Clerk. It's always a pleasure to have Nancy here. For the, I think it was about the first year she was giving brief tutorials on the Constitution. Let's see, do we have any candidates? Tom Miller's been coming regularly. He's running for sheriff this year, and I don't see him here today. But
I do want to say, if anybody asks, his son is doing fine. His son had surgery this week and came through surgery great and is home. So that's a good thing for Tom's son.
cool. Good to know. All right. Another thing we do is ask for a showing of hands of people that are here for the first time. So we, excellent. Always glad to see new people, especially during the summer when attendance is low. Let me just give you a few comments about us. We're a conservative grassroots organization, and some people refer to us as the Tea Party. Well, we were here before the Tea Party started, but we're doing the same thing. We're building the conservative grassroots, and what that means is we're trying to reach out to other conservatives like ourselves, help them get better informed, help them become more involved, and become more effective as patriots and as active citizens. We provide a big tent here. We have Republicans, Independents, and Democrats. And I can't help but remark that the last few weeks, there seems to be a really big resurgence of conservative Democrats that are saying anybody but Obama. That's a surprising development. But I'm glad to see there are conservative Democrats out there starting to add their voices. We do provide a variety of views here. All the views you hear here will not necessarily be those we agree with, but we do like to have an open forum. Rules are fairly short, simple. No videotaping except for Scott, unless you're videotaping somebody that's being very odd. We do have the right to evict people who are being disruptive. We had somebody a couple weeks ago that actually was trying to be disruptive. It's not a very common thing. And what was it, about 2 months ago, we had somebody trying to videotape one of our guest speakers,
Right.
opposition researchers.
Right.
So that's the one reason why we're getting a little bit more strict. The one thing I do ask for all of the new people though, be sure to sign up on our email list so we can send you our announcements of various events. We try to keep track of other interesting things going on. Lisa in particular, she goes to what, 2 or 3 different things a week?
Yeah.
And we share those events with everyone here. We got a couple of minutes before we need to get to our guest speaker, and I think we have some people in the audience that would like to say some words. Jonathan, Maria, and Rachel, are you together?
No.
No, okay. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Thank you, Jim.
Excuse me, could you go up to the podium, please?
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm with Energy Citizens Ohio, and we're a grassroots organization, and we try to build, mobilize, and activate grassroots support for energy development here in Ohio. Ohio is blessed with an abundance of gas and oil in the Utica Shale and the Marcellus Shale, and we need, it's going to be a great boon for our economy, but also for energy independence. I've left for each and every one of you a little sign-up card, and what that sign-up card does, we will send you emails. They will have information on them about what is going on here in Ohio and at the national level in terms of energy policy. We will also send out action alerts. There are certain action alerts. Just recently, for example, the EPA made rules that they are going to be able to encroach and regulate oil development here in Ohio, gas and oil development. And the term that you all know probably pretty well, fracking. The federal government doesn't have any regulatory oversight here in Ohio. The ODNR does, and now the federal government is going to encroach. So we need your help, each and every one of you, to make sure that we can, Ohio can be, a leader in this country in energy development and in job creation, and lead us to energy independence. Thank you very much. I would appreciate if you each would fill that out. You can keep the pen. I also have a few t-shirts over there. You're welcome to them. They're free. They're not for sale. And again, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan. I'm glad you mentioned the t-shirts. We're a great believer in people being walking billboards for our conservative causes and for our conservative candidates. It never ceases to amaze me, or Lisa, that we'll just be walking through the grocery store or parking lot or somewhere else, and someone will see our t-shirt and come over and strike up a conversation. And the next thing you know, we've got another colleague working with us to turn this country around. And now, Rachel, you had something on coal, correct? All right.
I'm sure you're all aware that the Obama administration, the EPA, has been overreaching, to say it lightly, on the coal industry, and that affects all of us because we all use coal for our electricity. Manufacturers use it. It's an important part of Ohio's economy because we mine here also. So I think you'll see a very active stance from the coal industry and supporters of coal in general this year, because it's kind of sort of do or die time, you might say, for the coal industry. And we have no affordable option, alternative to coal. So I'm passing around, I have these petitions just saying we're looking for people to sign these, to say that you support the coal industry against the EPA's infringing regulations. And if you're on the central committee of your county party or some sort of elected official, you can put the title there. But I have a few of these. If you want to sign them, I can pass them around. But I appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thank you, Rachel. Lisa, that meeting in Litchfield, what night was that?
6 o'clock, it's at the Assembly of God. It's Thursday the 31st, 6 o'clock at the Assembly of God. And I don't know who's putting it on. I just saw it on a billboard at Bueller's.
Okay.
And it's on fracking. I think it's going to be the pros and cons. It's close to us, so we hope to make it.
Yeah, 6 o'clock, the 31st, that's Thursday evening, Assembly of God in Litchfield. Okay. We don't know who's putting it on. There has been a anti-fracking group that has been very active in Medina County for about the last 6 months, I'd say. And we're trying to equalize the discussion, make sure that both sides get heard. At any rate, just a brief comment. It seems now that we've taken back Congress, President Obama is taking more authority to the executive branch and trying to rule by edict what he can't get through Congress. The war on energy independence is one of the issues. Hopefully we'll be able to force him to agree to the Keystone Pipeline. His opposition to his war on the coal industry, hopefully we'll be able to deal with that as well. But it's very ominous what's going on in Washington, D.C. Anyway, today we have a special guest speaker come up from Columbus, Mark Harrington, with the Created Equal organization. And his organization has a very interesting slogan of defending the rights of citizens not yet born. I think I got that right? Close enough. So, Mark, if you'd like to take the podium, we'd like to see your presentation.
Good morning. How are you? It's good to be here. Thank God for God-fearing Americans that are willing to stand up for their rights. It's a big year, of course, with our election coming up. What I'd like to do this morning, I'll give you a little background on us and then spend a few minutes explaining our mission and then explain what we're going to be doing this election year to influence the pro-life vote, which is a vital part of, as you can imagine, with the conservative vote. If the social conservatives stay home, we lose. Bottom line, evangelical and Catholic voters and conservative Christian vote, the pro-life vote is vital to getting Barack Obama out of office. But so we're going to be doing a few things to help get that vote out. But before I talk about that, I want to just give you a little bit of what we're doing as an organization. Go by the name Created Equal. Where do we find that? We are endowed by our with certain unalienable rights. And the first one is what? Right to life. Found in our Declaration of Independence. Our founders understood that the first right was fundamental to all rights, and the right to life is the first right. If we deny American citizens the right to life, they can't pursue happiness. There is no liberty if you're dead. So they understood that. That's why they put it first. Of course, that whole concept of being created equal is founded in the Scriptures, in Genesis, right? Where God said He made us in His image. He created us in His image. And that separates us from the rest of His creation. So the founders understood that. They understood that those rights are unalienable. That cannot be taken away. And the first right was the right to life. And that is key to all other rights. None of these other rights matter. And so, if we do not reestablish the right to life to preborn Americans, all these other rights are in jeopardy. And that's what we're saying. If you deny the right to life, how hard is it to take away someone's liberty? Not very difficult, is it? So, that's where we, that phrase, we use that as a starting point for a conversation. Because we're created equal, that means we're different than the rest of creation, and it's about equality. See, what's interesting here is the left, generally, likes to talk about equality a lot, right? And I'm for equality. I think we're all for equality, aren't we? And the biggest thing recently is marriage equality. President Obama's come out in support of gay marriage. It's all about equality, we hear, from the left side of the aisle. But see, when it comes to the right to life, no equality. No equality. They're blinded on that one. They think about women's rights, that kind of thing, but they don't think about the preborn. See, this is all about equality. The right for the born to be treated like the preborn, and the preborn to be treated like the born. There's no reason whatsoever that we should treat the born differently than we do the preborn. And so, when we use the term created equal, and when we make the case that this is really an issue of equality, it kind of flips the tables on the other side, because they're so used to using this for their own agenda. But when you make the case that abortion is simply age-based discrimination, and that's really all it is, discriminating on the very young, they get it, they understand it, and it gets them thinking differently. So this is really changing the debate by using the issue of equality as it relates to the preborn and abortion. And so when we go to college campuses, and I'm going to share with you what we're doing, which is what our whole entire ministry is based on, and that is energizing a movement of young people to take this issue, pro-life, abortion. The next generation of leaders, we are raising them up to take this issue into the future. Because, I don't know about you, I'm not getting any younger. Our movement, in the pro-life movement, and I would speak for many of us, I think, generally, the conservative movement is aging. If we don't raise up young people to take the mantle that we have taken so far and hand that off to them, I fear for our country. I fear for our country. So that's what we do. We train young people to go on college and high school campuses to spread the pro-life message based on the issue that we believe abortion is simply age-based discrimination. And how we do that, and I'll explain it a little bit, is we use visuals, and we'll share with that with you in a moment. And where we're having success is young people are looking for a cause. They're looking for a movement. They're looking for something that's bigger than themselves. They look at their parents and they think, we failed. They look at our generation and they think, look at the country. We're $16 trillion in debt. Everything that we've done for the last generation is failing, and they want something they can sink their teeth into that's going to make a difference. And we've got to provide that kind of leadership. And in the pro-life movement, we're aging. We've got to replace ourselves. So what we do is we have taken some time to look at past historical social action movements, whether it be the civil rights movement or anti-child labor, anti-war. You go down the line. And every one of those movements that were successful in changing public opinion on that particular topic, there were a couple of things that were very key to it. Very central, very foundational. And the biggest one was the willingness of those who participated in it to be persecuted for the cause. To be persecuted, to be willing to lay down their lives for that cause. That separated those movements from all the rest of the movements out there, or causes. If you go to Facebook right now, for an example, there are 350,000 causes on Facebook. 350,000. A lot of causes, right? Lots of them. But very few of those causes will ever become bona fide movements of God. Very few of them, if any. And what we need to understand, what separates just a typical cause to a movement? Now they refer to the Tea Party movement, and I think it is a movement. What distinguished the Tea Party movement from everything else that's been happening in politics? And that was the willingness for these people to stand up for what they believed in and said they don't care about the consequences. They're willing to take the heat, and they're willing to be persecuted for what they believe in. And that set them apart from all the other causes out there. And people pay attention to that kind of thing. Now, you can say what you like about the Occupy movement, but it's the same thing as far as that goes. These people, you know, a lot of them don't have jobs or whatever, but they are out there willing to be arrested, do all this stuff, because they believe in what they're doing. And they're willing to be arrested or whatever it takes. And I'm not supporting the Occupy movement, but I'm just telling you, those are the movements that succeed. And if the pro-life movement's going to succeed, we've got to bring young people into the movement who are willing to stand for what they believe in. And so what we've done, and just to give you a little teaser here, is we go back to the civil rights movement, for an example. Because the civil rights movement is the closest movement to us, in the sense that it's only, say, a generation or so that it began. And we draw some parallels to that movement and the pro-life movement. And what separated the civil rights movement were people like James Word, which you see on the screen here. Now, James Word, as you can tell, he is an African American. He's white. He's Caucasian. James Word was a freedom rider. James Word was in college in 1962. And he saw what was happening in the South when African Americans were boarding buses. They called them freedom rides, and they drove from Washington down south, and they finished, or supposedly supposed to finish, in Louisiana. And if you know anything about history, what happened during that period is they were defying the laws on segregation. Actually, the laws had already passed, and the buses were supposed to be segregated, but are not segregated anymore. But the companies were still segregating them, and African Americans, along with whites like James Word, got on those buses to defy the law because it was unjust. And what happens is it brought all this attention to their cause. Many of them were beaten and spent time in the hospital because of it. Buses were burned. I mean, it did more for the movement than any other thing in that time period. And what separates James Word from the rest of those in the movement and those on the freedom rides is he was willing to die for the cause. Willing to die for the cause. And if you read the quote here, he basically, and this is where we need to understand, what separates a movement from a cause. He said this, "To me it was a movement." I can't read it. Sorry. "To me it was a movement. I sensed a power far greater than any one individual member." So it was that collective thing that was going on with him. "Since then I understand the term is synergism, that the power of many is far greater than any individual." That's what separated the civil rights movement from all the other causes out there. It was the idea that it was greater than any individual. And that's what we're trying to rekindle with the pro-life movement by getting young people involved. Because they're looking for causes, folks. They're looking for something. They just don't see it yet. And we've got to provide that kind of leadership. Now here's James Word from a hospital bed when he was beaten this close to the end of his life. And this is what he said. This is after 3 days of being unconscious.
Segregation must be stopped. It must be broken down. Those of us who are on the freedom ride, who will continue the freedom ride, I'm not sure that I'll be able to. We're going on to New Orleans, no matter what happens. We're dedicated to this. We'll take hitting, we'll take beating. We're willing to accept death. But we're going to keep coming until we can ride from anywhere in the South to any place else in the South without anybody making comment, just as American citizens.
Now that's James Werg. You know, he probably doesn't even realize what he said at the moment because he was just regaining consciousness after being in a hospital bed for 3 days. But he knew when he got on that bus that he might face this. And when he got off that bus in Birmingham, Alabama, there were people waiting for him. White racists with chains and clubs and bats, and many people ended up in the hospital like James Werg. And that's what separated that movement from all the other movements. And I'm not saying we have to disobey the law or anything like that, but we got to be willing to pay a price for what we believe in. And I would submit to you that much of the pro-life movement is not willing. It's become mainstream like so many other movements have, institutionalized. The cause to end abortion is no longer really the issue with us. And it needs to be the case. So when we take these young people down the road of training them, we share with them the civil rights movement. And they get the connection. What we do is we take our young people on what we call justice rides. Freedom rides, right? Justice rides. We take young people, load them into vans, and go on the road. And we take them to university campuses, college campuses, and high schools. And we spend 2 to 3 weeks on the road with them. Several dozen. And they take time off. It's like a short-term mission trip. And we go from school to school to school, going out onto the campus with signs. That was our last trip to Florida, which we took was over spring break. We took about 50 young people on the road with us. And we use these images to stimulate a debate. And the reason is that it's everybody's opinion on abortion. They can say, well, it's just my choice, that's your opinion, that's fine with you, you know, whatever, I don't care, fine, live your own life. But when you show an image, then you're settling the facts. You show a picture, then it's an indisputable act of violence. No longer called choice, it's an act of violence that kills a baby. We've got to establish the facts before we can really have a conversation with anybody, and that's why these photos are so important. And if you think about all the rest of the social action movements out there, they have all used imagery. Every one of them, anti-war, civil rights, anti-child labor, always use photos of the injustice to draw attention to their cause. Every one of them. And so this is a proven methodology to get people to think differently. And we go to campuses like this. And this is what we find. This is at the University of Toledo, for example. This is something that students can get involved in. So it's called a justice ride. Now, I'm going to play a short clip of what we're going to be doing this summer. We're going to be spending a week on the road with young people. We're going to be going to 5 cities. And this is a video introducing that project.
This week I've learned how to defend my position using logic and good reasoning to help people learn why they believe what they believe.
I learned a lot about abortion. I didn't know, like, to the extent how horrible it was. Being able to see the reaction in people's faces, I was shocked at how many people really didn't know what abortion was.
Once people see the pictures, they really understand what abortion is and does.
What we set out to do, we actually do accomplish.
I just had a really interesting conversation with these 3 or 4 girls. They were shocked. they had never thought about it before. It was sort of, I could see their eyes being opened to what they had thought for years and years.
That's been probably the most beneficial thing, is just real life training. It's not like someone's telling you what to say, you're actually saying it to